The stars burned bright in the night sky as Melody watched from her small cabin in the woods. She had left behind her military career years ago, seeking solitude after the Great War between humans and the Varaxians. Yet fate had other plans for her. The Varaxian royal ship landed near her cabin. One cold winter night, King Zorth emerged carrying a small bundle in his arms. He was tall with blue skin and 6 eyes that glowed in the darkness. "My daughter Lyra is weak by our standards," said King Zorth. "Our people value strength above all else. She cannot survive among us. The council wants her gone, but I cannot let her die. Our scouts report that humans have compassion. I ask you to raise her as your own Melody." Looked at the small alien child, with pale blue skin and large eyes. She seemed so fragile, yet there was something in those eyes, a spark that Melody recognized. "I will take her," said Melody. The king bowed his head in gratitude before returning to his ship. The engines roared, and soon the vessel disappeared into the night sky, leaving Melody alone with an alien child and 1,000 questions. The first few weeks were difficult. Lyra needed special nutrients that Melody had to synthesize using equipment left by the king. The young alien girl cried at night, making sounds that echoed through the cabin like soft music. Her skin glowed faintly in the darkness, a biological feature of her species. Melody learned to care for Lyra with patience, adapting human parenting to suit an alien child. She built a special bed to support Lyra's delicate spine and prepared meals that combined Earth foods with Varaxian supplements. It was challenging, but Melody had always excelled at impossible tasks as months passed. Lyra began to speak, combining Varaxian words with English. Her first complete sentence came on a spring morning while they watched sunrise together. "Sky beautiful like palace home," she said, pointing to the orange and pink clouds. Melody smiled. "It is beautiful. And this is your home now too." Lyra grew faster than human children, but slower than Varaxians would expect. By her 3rd Earth year, she looked like a 10-year-old human girl, though her blue skin and extra pair of eyes set her apart. She was taller than human, children her age, but would be considered small among her own kind. One day, while exploring the woods near their cabin, they encountered a bear. Melody reached for the weapon she always carried, but Lyra stepped forward instead. She made a series of clicking sounds from deep in her throat. The bear stopped, looked at them with curious eyes, then turned and walked away. "How did you do that?" asked Melody, amazed. Lyra shrugged. "Animals understand feelings, not words. I showed respect, not fear." This moment revealed something important. Lyra might be physically weaker than other Varaxians, but she possessed unique abilities. Her mind was sharp, her empathy extraordinary. Her small stature forced her to observe, analyze, and connect, where others might simply use force. Melody began to see potential in these differences. As a former military strategist, she understood that true strength came in many forms. When Lyra turned 7 by Earth years, Melody began training her not just to survive, but to thrive. "Your body may seem fragile compared to other Varaxians," Melody explained, "but your mind is powerful. Your ability to connect with other beings is remarkable. These are strengths too." They started with simple exercises adapted for Lyra's physiology. Melody taught her to use leverage rather than force, to move objects, to anticipate rather than overpower, to observe weaknesses in any system or opponent. Lyra was a quick study. Her alien biology gave her advantages humans lacked, including enhanced vision that could see into ultraviolet spectrum, and fingers with extra joints allowing for more precise movements. Her skin could slightly change color with her emotions, a trait Melody taught her to control. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Lyra asked about her father and her homeworld. "Why did he leave me here?" she asked. "Do you think he ever thinks of me?" Melody chose her words carefully. "Your father is a king. He made a difficult choice to save you. He saw something in you that others could not see, something worth protecting." "But I am weak," Lyra said, repeating what she had been told about herself. "No," Melody corrected. "You are different, and different can be powerful." As Lyra grew, She began to create inventions combining human technology with knowledge of Varaxian science she somehow retained. She built communication devices to test air quality, and even a small hovercraft from parts Melody gathered on trips to nearby townspeople. In the closest village knew of them, of course. The strange woman in the woods and her blue-skinned child. They kept their distance mostly, but were not unkind. Some children would visit occasionally to play with Lyra, supervised by Melody. When Lyra was 10 years old, everything changed. A second Varaxian ship arrived. This one smaller than the royal vessel that had brought her to Earth. A messenger stepped out tall and imposing with ceremonial armor. "I come from the royal court," he announced. "King Zorth sends news. The Krell Empire has attacked our worlds. The war goes badly." The king asks about his daughter. Melody felt her heart tighten. She had known this day might come, but not so soon. Not while Lyra was still learning, still growing. The messenger looked at Lyra with obvious surprise. "You are small for your age, little princess." Lyra stood straight, meeting his gaze without fear. "I may be small, but I am strong in ways you cannot see." The messenger seemed taken aback, but continued. "The king sends this for you." He handed her a small crystal that glowed with inner light. When pressed, it projected an image of King Zorth. His face looked older, more lined with worry. "My daughter," he said, "our world faces its darkest hour. I do not ask you to return. I only wish to know that you are safe and—" Well, Lyra looked at the message, then at Melody. Her 4 eyes filled with emotion. "I must help them," she said. "They are my people, even if they rejected me." Melody knew that moment marked the end of their peaceful existence. The universe had found them, again bringing with it the complications and dangers of interstellar politics. But looking at Lyra standing tall despite her small stature, Melody felt a surge of pride. This child was ready to face whatever came next, and Melody would stand beside her. The messenger stayed for 3 days, observing Lyra with increasing interest. He watched as she performed her daily training exercises, moving with a grace no Varaxian had ever displayed. He saw her communicate with wild animals and build complex devices with her nimble fingers. "You have taught her well," he told Melody on the final evening. "But she will face much prejudice if she returns. Our people do not understand different kinds of strength." Melody nodded. "I know, but I have taught her to stand tall even when others look down on her." When the messenger departed, he left behind a communication device allowing them to receive news from the Varaxian homeworld. The reports grew worse each month. The Krell, a race of reptilian warriors known for their brutality, were conquering Varaxian colonies one by one. They sought the rare crystals that powered Varaxian technology. Lyra absorbed every piece of information, studying battle reports and Krell tactics. She began to see patterns that others missed. They attacked the same way every time, she told Melody one night. The Krell rely on superior numbers and strength, but they lack adaptation. Melody recognized the strategic mind developing in her adopted daughter. For the next 2 years, they intensified their training. Melody taught Lyra everything she knew about human military strategy, guerrilla tactics, and psychological warfare. While other Varaxians might overpower opponents, Lyra learned to outsmart them. "She will never be as strong as a full Varaxian warrior," the messenger had said during his visit. But Melody knew strength came in many forms. When Lyra turned 12, a formal request arrived from King Zorth. The war was going poorly. The Krell had pushed Varaxian forces back to their home system. The king requested his daughter's return, not to fight but as a symbol to rally the people. "We cannot ask this of her," said Melody, her heart breaking at the thought of Lyra facing danger. "I must go," Lyra replied. "I have prepared for this my whole life." Their journey to the Varaxian homeworld took 3 weeks aboard a diplomatic vessel. Lyra spent the time studying everything about her birth planet, its culture, politics, and current situation. Melody watched with a mixture of pride and fear as Lyra prepared herself for what lay ahead. The Varaxian capital was a marvel of crystal architecture. Tall spires reached toward the Twin Suns buildings connected by transparent bridges that sparkled in the light. But signs of war were everywhere. Damaged structures, military vessels patrolling the skies. Citizens with worried expressions. King Zorth received them in the royal palace. His once powerful frame now seemed diminished by worry. When he saw Lyra, his 6 eyes widened. She stood before him, small by Varaxian standards, but carrying herself with dignity. "My daughter," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "You have grown into someone I barely recognize. Melody taught me to find strength within myself," Lyra replied. "And now I have returned to help my people." The royal council was less welcoming. A group of 12 Varaxian elders. They looked at Lyra with barely concealed disappointment. She was not the warrior princess they had hoped for. She stood barely reaching the shoulders of adult. Varaxians, her frame slight, her muscles lean rather than bulky. "What can this half-grown child do against?" the Krell asked one council member, her voice sharp with disdain. "The Krell warriors are twice her size." Lyra stepped forward. "I bring something. More valuable than size, I bring a new perspective." The council chambers filled with murmurs, but King Zorth raised his hand for silence. "Let her speak." For the next hour, Lyra presented her analysis of Krell battle tactics, pointing out weaknesses others had missed. She explained alternative strategies based on human warfare adapted for Varaxian abilities. She spoke with such clarity and confidence that even the skeptical council members began to listen. "This approach has merit," said the military commander finally, "but our warriors are trained for direct confrontation. They know nothing of these subtle tactics. I will teach them," replied Lyra, and so began Lyra's remarkable transformation from outsider to advisor. The king appointed her to a special position within the military despite objections from traditionalists. Each day she worked with elite Varaxian warriors, teaching them to think beyond brute force, to use the environment as a weapon, to anticipate enemy movements, to strike at vulnerabilities, rather than strengths. Many warriors resisted at first. They towered over Lyra, looking down at her with 4 or 6 eyes filled with doubt. But when she demonstrated her ideas in practice scenarios, even the most skeptical began to reconsider. Melody watched this transformation with pride but also concern. She saw how Lyra pushed herself, working longer hours than anyone, sleeping little, eating less. Her determination was admirable, but Melody feared for her health. "You must rest," she told Lyra one night after finding her still awake studying Krell battle formations. "Even the strongest mind needs recovery." Lyra looked up with tired eyes. "I cannot rest while my people suffer. Every day we lose more territory, more lives." Melody sat beside her, placing a gentle hand on her blue shoulder. "Your father did not bring you here to watch you destroy yourself. He brought you to help save your people, and you cannot save them." "If you fall," Lyra nodded reluctantly, agreeing to rest. But the next day brought news that changed everything. The Krell had broken through the outer defenses. They would reach the capital within days. The Royal Council gathered in emergency session. "We must evacuate the king," said one council member. "The royal line must survive." "No," said Lyra, standing before them, her voice steady. "This is the moment to implement our new strategy." The council erupted in arguments. Some supported her plan, others insisted on retreat. In the midst of the chaos, a transmission appeared on the main screen. A Krell commander, his reptilian face filling the display. "Varaxians," he hissed. "We offer you terms of surrender. Your king will submit to our authority. Your resources will become ours. Your people will serve the Krell Empire. This is mercy, compared to what awaits if you resist." King Zorth looked to his daughter. "What say you, Lyra?" All eyes turned to her. This small figure who had returned from Earth with strange ideas and stranger methods. She stood straight, her 4 eyes clear and determined. "Do not surrender," she said. "We fight, but we fight smart." The Krell commander laughed, a sound like stones grinding together. "Who is this small one who speaks so boldly?" "I am Lyra, daughter of King Zorth, trained by humans, and I am the one who will defeat you." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in silence. The military commander was the first to speak. "I stand with Princess Lyra," he announced. "Let us try her way. The old methods have failed us." One by one, the council members nodded their agreement. Even the most skeptical could see they had few options left. King Zorth looked at his daughter with new eyes, no longer seeing the weak child he had sent away, but a leader returned. "You have 1 day to prepare," he told her. "Use it well, Lyra." Turned to Melody, her teacher, her mother, in all ways that mattered. "We need to work quickly," she said. "The plan begins now." That night, the capital transformed under Lyra's direction. Workers removed crystal bridges between buildings, created false structures, and rigged environmental systems with special modifications. Varaxian warriors, usually trained for direct combat, now prepared for something entirely different. Melody worked alongside Lyra, adapting human military strategies to Varaxian technology. When dawn broke over the twin suns, the city looked the same on the surface but had become a carefully designed trap. The Krell ships appeared midday, massive vessels that darkened the sky. Their design was brutalist, all sharp angles and exposed weapons. Lyra watched from the command center as the enemy approached exactly as she had predicted. "They will target government buildings first," she told the gathered commanders. "Their intelligence is good, but not perfect. They do not know which structures are truly important." The Krell ground forces deployed first thousands of reptilian warriors in heavy armor. They moved in tight formation toward what appeared to be the central government district, but was actually a series of decoys created overnight. Now Lyra ordered. The Varaxian defenders activated the first phase of their plan. The apparent government building shimmered and disappeared, holographic projections fading to reveal empty plazas. The Krell forces suddenly found themselves exposed in open ground. As hidden defense systems activated, confusion spread through the Krell ranks, exactly as Lyra had anticipated. They were a species that relied on direct confrontation, not adaptation. When faced with the unexpected, they hesitated, precious moments lost. The second phase began. Varaxian warriors attacked. Not head-on, as tradition would dictate, but from multiple directions using the city's complex architecture for cover. Small teams struck quickly, then retreated before the Krell could bring their superior strength to bear. From the command center, Lyra directed the battle like a complex dance. Her small fingers moved across tactical displays, adjusting strategies as the situation evolved. Melody stood beside her, providing insights when needed, but mostly watching with pride as her student became the teacher. The Krell commander, clearly frustrated by the unexpected resistance, sent a second transmission. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "This is not how Varaxians fight, it is how we fight now," replied Lyra calmly. "You studied old tactics, but we have evolved." The battle continued through the day. The Krell pushed forward with brute force, but found themselves channeled into prepared killing zones. Their numerical advantage negated by the environment itself. Varaxian warriors fighting with new tactics proved devastatingly effective. By nightfall, the Krell had suffered significant losses. Their advance stalled. More importantly, their aura of invincibility had been broken. "This is only the beginning," Lyra told the War Council. "The Krell will adapt. We must be ready." For 3 days, the battle raged across the capital. The Krell changed tactics several times, but Lyra anticipated each shift. Her ability to think like the enemy, combined with her understanding of both human and Varaxian warfare, gave her unique insight. On the 4th day, the Krell commander requested a meeting. "It is a trap," said one council member. "They seek to assassinate our leadership," perhaps, agreed Lyra. "But it is also an opportunity." Despite concerns from her father and Melody, Lyra insisted on attending the meeting. She selected a neutral location, a damaged spaceport at the edge of the capital. Accompanied by 4 elite guards and Melody, she went to face the enemy commander. The Krell leader was massive even for his species. His scaled skin bore the scars of countless battles. His eyes, yellow with vertical pupils, studied Lyra with obvious surprise. "You are the strategist," he said, his voice rumbling in the cavernous space. "I expected someone larger." Lyra smiled. "Size is not everything," she replied. "I learned that on Earth." The Krell commander circled her curiously. You fight unlike any Varaxian I have encountered. Where did you learn such tactics from humans? Said Lyra. From being different. Being cast out forced me to find new ways to succeed. Negotiations were tense. The Krell demanded access to Varaxian crystal technologies Lyra countered with limited trade agreements. The discussion continued for hours, but eventually reached a preliminary agreement. The Krell would withdraw from Varaxian space in exchange for regulated access to certain resources. When they returned to the palace, King Zorth embraced his daughter with all four arms. You have done what our greatest warriors could not, he said. You have brought the Krell to the negotiation table. But some council members remained skeptical. The Krell cannot be trusted, warned the eldest. They will regroup and attack again. Lyra nodded. I agree. This is merely a pause in their aggression. We must use this time to prepare. In the weeks that followed, Lyra implemented sweeping changes to Varaxian defenses and military training. She combined traditional Varaxian combat techniques with human strategies, creating something new. Melody assisted developing training programs for warriors of all ranks. Word of Lyra's achievement spread throughout the Empire. The small princess who had been sent away for weakness had returned to save them. Stories grew with each telling. Some said she could read Krell minds. Others claimed she could see the future. The truth was less mystical but no less impressive. She simply thought differently, approaching problems from angles no Varaxian had considered. Not everyone celebrated her success. Traditional military leaders resented her influence. Some whispered that she was not truly Varaxian anymore, having been raised by humans. They questioned her loyalty, her methods, her right to advise the king. These murmurs of discontent reached Lyra, but did not deter her. She had faced dismissal all her life, first for her small stature, then for her unusual upbringing. She had learned from Melody to let results speak for themselves. 3 months after the Battle of the Capital, as it came to be known, Lyra received a message from a distant Varaxian colony. The Krell had broken the agreement, attacking without warning. The war was not over. It had merely changed form. We must respond, said King Zorth. But our forces are still recovering from the last attack. Lyra studied reports from the colony, noting details others missed. This attack was different, smaller, more precise. The Krell were learning from her, adapting their own tactics. They think like me now, she told Melody that night. They are becoming more strategic. The king called for a full military response, but Lyra proposed something different. Send me, she said, I will take a small team. The Krell expect an army. They will not be prepared for a targeted operation. The council objected vehemently. The princess was too valuable to risk on such a mission. But Lyra stood firm. I created these tactics, she argued. I know their strengths and weaknesses better than anyone, and the Krell will not expect me to lead personally. After much debate, King Zorth reluctantly agreed. Lyra would lead a special team to the colony. Their mission to assess the situation and, if possible, eliminate the Krell command structure. Melody watched with mixed emotions as Lyra prepared for the mission. She had trained this child for years, teaching her to survive in a world that underestimated her. Now that child had become a warrior, a strategist, a leader. I should come with you, she told Lyra. Lyra took Melody's hands in hers. I need you here, she said. Training our warriors, continuing what we started. And she added with a small smile, someone must advise Father if I am delayed the night before departure. Lyra visited the Temple of Ancestors, a spiritual place she had never known in her youth. She knelt before the crystal memorials, her 4 eyes closed in meditation. She had been born Varaxian, raised human, and had returned something new, something that bridged both worlds. As she meditated, a temple keeper approached, an elderly Varaxian with clouded eyes. You are the one they speak of, he said. The small princess with the large vision. Lyra opened her eyes. I'm trying to be. The keeper nodded thoughtfully. There is an old prophecy, he said, about a child of 2 worlds who would change the empire. I never understood it until now. Lyra did not believe in prophecies. Melody had taught her to trust in preparation. not prediction. But she appreciated the sentiment as dawn broke over the capital. Lyra boarded her ship. Her team consisted of 20 warriors, selected for their adaptability, rather than their size or strength. Each had trained personally with her learning human tactics. Melody stood on the landing platform watching the ship prepare for departure. "Remember what I taught you," she called. "Everything can be a strength, even what others see as weakness." Lyra smiled and gave the human gesture of a thumbs up. "I remember," she said, "and I will return with victory." The journey to the colony took 5 days. Lyra used this time to prepare her team, drilling them in specialized tactics. She had selected warriors who, like her, did not fit the traditional Varaxian ideal. Some were smaller, some had physical limitations, others simply thought differently. Each had been overlooked until Lyra recognized their potential. The colony came into view on the 6th day. Once a thriving outpost, it now showed signs of battle. Damaged buildings, smoke rising from several districts. The Frail occupation force had established a perimeter around the main settlement. Their ships visible from orbit, Lyra gathered her team for final instructions. "The Frail expect us to attack with overwhelming force," she explained. "They have prepared for that, but 20 of us can move undetected where an army cannot. We strike their command, not their numbers." Their ship landed under cover of darkness in the forests outside the settlement. Using technology adapted from human stealth systems, they approached undetected. Lyra led them through terrain the Frail considered impassable. Her smaller size an advantage in the dense vegetation. They reached the edge of the settlement at midnight. Frail patrols moved in predictable patterns, their confidence evident in their relaxed posture. They did not expect an attack, least of all from the direction Lyra had chosen. The team separated into 4 groups each, with a specific objective. Lyra led the main strike force, targeting the Frail command center. They moved through the settlement using shadows and damaged buildings for cover. Their movements fluid and silent, a stark contrast to traditional Varaxian battle charges. The first Frail patrol they encountered never saw them coming up from behind. Lyra's team used neural disruptors, devices she had designed based on both human and Varaxian technology. The reptilian warriors collapsed without sound. "We take as many alive as possible," Lyra had instructed. "This is about ending the conflict, not extending." At the command center, a converted colonial administration building, they faced their greatest challenge. 20 Frail elite guards protected their commander. The traditional approach would fail here. Even with surprise, they were outnumbered. Lyra signaled her team. They deployed special devices, small spheres that emitted frequencies painful to Frail hearing, but harmless to Varaxians. Another human-inspired tactic targeting a specific weakness. The effect was immediate. The Frail guards dropped, their weapons clutching at their hearing organs. The team moved in, securing the perimeter. Lyra approached the command center alone, knowing what awaited inside. The Frail commander was the same one she had negotiated with months earlier. He stood, unaffected by the sonic attack, his hearing protected by specialized equipment. His massive form towered over Lyra, his claws extended. "So the small strategist comes herself," he said, his voice rumbling in the chamber. "I should have killed you when we met." Lyra stood her ground, facing him without fear. "You broke our agreement," she said. "Why?" The commander hissed, a sound between amusement and contempt. "Agreements are for those who cannot take what they want. We tested your defenses, found them improved, but not impenetrable." This colony was just the beginning. They circled each other in the command center. The Frail warrior relied on intimidation, his posture designed to emphasize his superior size and strength. Lyra remained calm, her 4 eyes taking in every detail. His armor was heavy, his movements powerful but slow. "You fight well for a small one," the commander said. "But you cannot match Frail's strength." "I don't need to match it," replied Lyra. "I only need to overcome it." The commander lunged suddenly, his massive arm sweeping toward her. But Lyra had anticipated this. She dropped and rolled, using the momentum of his attack against him. As he stumbled off balance, she struck precisely at the joint in his armor, where flexibility necessitated vulnerability. The commander roared in pain but recovered quickly. He was a veteran of countless battles not easily defeated. But Lyra, too, had prepared for this moment. She had studied Krell, physiology, understood their weaknesses. Each move she made was calculated. Each apparent retreat positioned her for the next strike. Their combat continued, each testing the other's defenses. The commander grew frustrated as his powerful attacks met empty air. Lyra maintained her focus, conserving energy, making each movement count. This was the embodiment of everything Melody had taught her, using an opponent's strength against them. Finding advantage in apparent disadvantage, finally seeing an opening. Lyra executed a complex maneuver, slipping past the commander's guard and striking a nerve cluster near his spine. A technique adapted from human martial arts modified for Krell anatomy. The massive warrior collapsed, temporarily paralyzed. Lyra stood over him, not with triumph but with resolve. "It ends here," she said. "This colony returns to Varaxian control. You will order your forces to withdraw." The commander looked up at her with new understanding. "I underestimated you," he admitted. "Not just your tactics, but you yourself. Perhaps there is more to strength than size within." Hours the Krell began their withdrawal. The colony was secured with minimal casualties on either side. Lyra established communication with the capital, reporting their success. King Zorth was overjoyed, but also puzzled. "You captured the commander," he said. "Why not eliminate him? Because we need him alive," replied Lyra. "He will return to his people with a message that the Varaxians cannot be conquered through force. That negotiation is their only option." As her team prepared to return home, Lyra took time to meet with the colonists. These were Varaxians who had lived under Krell occupation, had seen their homes damaged, their lives disrupted. They looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. This small princess who fought unlike any warrior they had seen. A young colonist approached her, a child barely half-grown, her eyes wide with wonder. "They said you were raised by humans." The child said, "Is that why you're different?" Lyra knelt to meet the child's gaze. "I am different because I found strength in being different," she replied. "Sometimes what others see as weakness can become your greatest power." The return to the capital was marked by celebration. Citizens lined the streets as Lyra and her team made their way to the palace. News of their victory had spread throughout the empire. A small force led by the once rejected princess had accomplished what armies could not. In the palace, King Zorth received his daughter with full royal honors. The council members, even those who had once dismissed her, now showed respect. The military commander bowed before her, a gesture traditionally reserved for the greatest warriors. "Your methods have proven themselves," he acknowledged. "I request that you oversee the training of our forces. From this day forward, we will fight with both strength and strategy." But not everyone celebrated. Traditionalists among the nobility saw Lyra's success as a threat to their way of life. For generations, physical prowess had determined status in Varaxian society. If that changed, if different kinds of strength were valued equally, their position might be undermined. Melody noticed this undercurrent of resentment. She had lived among humans long enough to recognize political danger when she saw it. One evening she found Lyra alone in the gardens of the palace. "Be careful," she warned. "Some see your success, not as salvation, but as challenge. You have changed how Varaxians think about strength, about worth. That frightens those who benefited from the old ways." Lyra nodded, watching the twin moons rise above the crystal spires. "I know," she said. "They whisper that I am more human than Varaxian, that I have forgotten my heritage." "And what do you think?" asked Melody. Lyra turned her 4 eyes, reflecting. "The moonlight, I am both, and neither," she said. "You taught me to be myself, not what others expected. That lesson saved our people. It can transform our society as well, but change never comes without resistance." In the following weeks, Lyra implemented new training programs for Varaxian warriors. She established an academy where different fighting styles were taught. Those who might once have been rejected for physical limitations now found roles suited to their abilities. The military slowly began to transform. The Krell maintained their distance. The commander Lyra had defeated spread word of the new Varaxian tactics. Other species who had watched the conflict with interest now approached the Empire seeking alliances where before they had sensed weakness. They now recognized innovation. King Zorth, seeing his daughter's success, appointed her first advisor, a position never before held by one so young. The council protested, but could not deny her achievements. The king, aging now, and aware of his legacy, looked to Lyra as the Empire's future. But forces were gathering in the shadows. Those who resisted change were finding common cause. Whispers became meetings. Meetings became plans. A movement formed dedicated to returning to traditional ways. They called themselves purists, and they saw Lyra as a corruption of Varaxian identity. Melody sensed the growing danger. Her years as a soldier had taught her to recognize the signs of coming conflict. She increased security around Lyra, insisted on tasting her food before she ate, checked her quarters for hidden devices. "You worry too much," Lyra told her one evening. "And you not enough," replied Melody. "You have changed this world, Lyra. Some will never forgive that." The warning proved prophetic. 3 days later, during a public ceremony celebrating the alliance with a neighboring species, an assassin struck. A ceremonial guard, his loyalty to the purists, hidden until that moment, launched himself at Lyra, his weapon a traditional blade that could penetrate protective fields. Melody saw the attack coming before others reacted. Years of military training combined with maternal instinct propelled her forward. She placed herself between Lyra and the blade. It pierced her shoulder, missing vital organs, but drawing human blood. Security forces subdued the assassin, while medical teams rushed to Melody's aid. Lyra knelt beside her human mother, tears flowing from all 4 eyes. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do that?" Melody smiled through the pain. "Some lessons can't be taught, only demonstrated," she said. "This one is about love." The assassination attempt changed everything. The purists, exposed as willing to resort to violence, lost public support. King Zorth declared them enemies of the Empire. Their leaders were arrested, their organization disbanded. But the incident left its mark on Lyra. She understood now the true cost of leadership. During Melody's recovery, Lyra rarely left her side. The human woman had survived, but healing was slow. Varaxian medicine adapted for human physiology did its work, but time was still required. "You should return to your duties," Melody told her. "You have an empire to help run." Lyra shook her head. "The empire can wait. My first duty is to you. You saved me twice. First as a child, then from the assassin." As Melody recovered, Lyra reflected on all that had happened since her return to her birth world. She had changed her people, introduced new ideas, new ways of thinking, but change brought resistance always. Melody had taught her that too. The path of a reformer was never easy. When Melody finally returned to full health, a ceremony was held in her honor. King Zorth himself presented her with the Crystal of Valor, the highest award in the Empire. Never before given to a non-Varaxian, for service to the royal family and the Empire, he proclaimed, "For teaching our princess the true meaning of strength." The ceremony marked a turning point in Varaxian society. If a human could be so honored, could receive their highest award, perhaps other changes were possible too. Lyra used this moment to propose new initiatives, diplomatic missions to other worlds, including Earth cultural exchanges, educational programs. The old barriers began to fall slowly but steadily. Species once considered inferior were recognized for their unique strengths. Varaxians who did not fit the traditional mold found paths to success. The Empire, once isolated, began to engage with the wider galactic community. 5 years after Lyra's return from Earth, the Varaxian Empire had transformed. It remained powerful, but that power now took many forms. Military strength? Yes, but also diplomatic influence, technological innovation, cultural exchange. The Empire that had once valued only physical might now recognized many kinds of strength. Lyra, now fully grown though still small by Varaxian standards, had become a symbol of this new approach. As her father's health declined, she took on more responsibilities, preparing for the day when she would become ruler. But she never forgot where her journey began. In a quiet moment between diplomatic meetings, she found Melody in the palace gardens. The human woman, now showing signs of age, still moved with the grace of a former soldier. Her hair had grayed, but her eyes remained sharp. "Do you ever miss Earth?" asked. Lyra Melody considered the question. "Earth was my home," she said. "But home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's where you can do the most good, where you are needed. I am needed here." Lyra nodded, understanding. "We have changed things, you and I. An empire that would have discarded me now follows my lead." "It's more than that," said Melody. "You haven't just changed policies or tactics. You've changed how Varaxians think about worth, about value. That's a deeper change, one that will outlast us both." News arrived from the borders of the empire. A Krell delegation requested a meeting not for war, but for trade. The commander Lyra had defeated years ago now led his first people. His experience with the Varaxians had changed him too. He had seen different kinds of strength, recognized the limitations of brute force. The meeting was set for the following month, a historic moment possible only because a king had once made the difficult choice to send his daughter to an alien world, because a human soldier had taught that child to find strength in difference, because together they had shown an empire a new way forward. On the night before the Krell delegation was to arrive, Lyra stood on the highest tower of the palace looking out at the city. Crystal spires glowed in the light of the twin moons. Citizens moved through illuminated streets, the capital alive with activity even at night. Varaxian and non-Varaxian, alike part of a society slowly learning to value diversity. Melody joined her at the railing. "What do you see?" she asked. Lyra gestured to the panorama. "I see the future," she said. "One where strength takes many forms, where difference is valued, not rejected." She turned to face the human woman who had raised her. "Who taught you these things?" Melody smiled. "My own teachers. My own experiences. Being human means embracing contradiction. We can be strong because we are fragile, united because we are diverse." I simply shared what I knew. As dawn approached, casting the first hints of light across the capital, Lyra made a decision. "When I take the throne," she said, "I will establish a new tradition. The ruler of the Varaxian Empire will spend 1 year on Earth, learning as I did, not hiding but engaging, living among humans, understanding different perspectives." Melody raised an eyebrow. "That's a radical proposal. The council will resist." "Let them," said Lyra. "They resisted me too. And look what happened." The first rays of the twin suns crested the horizon, illuminating the city in golden light. A new day for an ancient empire. Lyra, daughter of King Zorth, raised by Melody of Earth, stood ready to lead her people forward. A bridge between worlds, between old and new, between different kinds of strength. In the years that followed, Lyra's story became legend throughout the galaxy. The princess deemed too weak to survive among her own people who returned to save them. The human soldier who taught an alien child to find strength in difference. Together they had transformed an empire, proving that true power comes in many forms. Diplomats from across known space traveled to the Varaxian capital seeking audience with the small queen, whose wisdom outshone her stature. Military strategists studied her tactics. The Varaxian Academy she established trained students from 100 worlds each, learning to recognize and develop their unique strengths. And in a special place of honor in the royal palace hung a portrait, a blue-skinned child with 4 eyes standing beside a human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. The inscription beneath it, written in both Varaxian and English, read, "True strength is not measured by size or might, but by the courage to be different, the wisdom to learn from others, the heart to stand for what is right." Visitors to the palace often noticed how the current queen would pause before this portrait, her 4 eyes soft with memory, before continuing on to lead an empire that now stood as an example to all of finding strength in diversity, unity in difference, and power in wisdom. Melody remained by Lyra's side for many years. Her human lifespan shorter than Varaxian, requiring special medical treatments to extend her time. But her legacy continued long after she was gone. in the academy that bore her name, in the diplomatic corps she had helped establish, in the queen who had once been a fragile child, rejected by her own people. Across the stars, beings of all kinds told the story. The alien princess raised by a human who became a mighty warrior, not because she overcame her differences, but because she embraced them, not despite who she was, but because of it. A reminder that true strength often comes from the most unexpected places.